I want to show you how I make a pretty nice graphic smoke effect using particles. There are a couple of examples in the library on how to make a more realistic soft edge smoke effect, but this is more of a graphic type that you'd see in some cartoons. What I did is I started off with a irregular vector shape that I've colored gray, and I've added the shaded effect to it with the blur set kind of high. And on the shape itself, I've hid half of the stroke because I didn't want to have a full boulder type effect going on. I wanted it to look like just, you'll see in a second. I wanted it to break up the outlines. Now I've added a simple animation to this shape over a 3-second period, 90 frames. I'm working at 30 frames a second. So as I come through the timeline, you'll see that I'm scaling up and moving slightly to the left. Now, in my particle layer itself, if you choose the particle layer and then click on the particle tool at the top, there's the particle options. Now you're able to, with the timeline playing, change these settings and see the results in real time, which would help you set what your settings should be. I've got it pretty much the way I like it right now. Things to look for when you're doing these settings. Since I have 90 frames of animation for my shape, I'm going to want the lifetime of my particles to be 90 frames so that I can actually see the full effect of that. I also have set my preview particle count to the same as my particle count. That way I'm actually seeing what the final is going to be and not being surprised that I have too many particles and it don't look quite right when I go to render it. I want to see exactly what it is in the preview. And what I did was I actually had moved my particle layers emitter down to the bottom because I wanted more of a cone shape. That's the reason I did the scaling up of my particle. And then I doubled it. I duplicated my layer and I flipped it horizontally, shifted it over, and kind of overlapped it a bit so that I end up with this kind of effect. And I think it looks kind of nice. You can break up your shapes a little more. You might want to change the shape in your duplicate layer just a little bit to kind of keep it from looking too symmetrical, or shift one of your particle layers a little bit. Like I believe I've shifted this one here just slightly down from its starting point. That would be a little too symmetrical, so I just shifted it just a touch to keep that symmetry out of it. And I think it makes a rather nice graphic smoke effect. Would be good for a volcano, or possibly would work good for some various cloud effects. If you want, you can render this out, re-import it, and re-import it as a movie and use your frame count in the image tab of the layer properties and lower your frame rate down to, say, half of what you recorded it at, which would slow down the speed of the playback, which would make these a lot slower, and kind of give you a nice slow boiling effect to the smoke. So that's how I make a nice graphic smoke effect using particles.